Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thrift Store Book Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about the book, Lions of the Desert. Lions of the Desert was written by Linda Chaikin, a woman who has a love of Christian novels and historical fiction. She has written at least 40 books in her career, some of which combine both her literary loves of Christian fiction and historical fiction. Lions of the Desert is one such book, so without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, I want to talk about the cover and the picture on the back of it. I'm torn between thinking it's okay and then kind of disliking it. I love the background where it's this faded map, a very nice touch for an exotic locale. It's the picture in the center I don't care for much. I don't think lions live in deserts, though I could be wrong. And if it's lions of the desert, plural, why is there only one lion in the picture? You said lions, Linda, yet you only gave me one. I understand, however, that the lion represents bravery and is also probably a reference to Jesus being the lion of the tribe of Judah. Or even if it could be a reference that lions are dangerous and there's danger all around, as we see in the book. Honestly, there are a lot of ways to interpret it, but what really gets me about the picture is the random palm tree in the back that looks like it's holding up the sun. Do palm trees live in deserts? Do any of the organisms presented on the cover live in deserts? Google will know, but I'm not looking it up, so it'll just be a mystery. I also want to talk about the picture on the back. It's of Linda, of course, and I love it. I don't know when it was taken, but you don't get much more 80s than that. And the fro too. I can smell the Elizabeth Taylor perfume in the room and hear the Cyndi Lauper playing faintly in the background. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Hold it up a bit closer to the camera. And I hope you can see just the one lion and the poor palm tree holding up the weight of the sun in the background. Like it's doing a lot of work. And then the background of like the map. And we flip it over and there's Linda in all her resplendent glory. Look at the fro. The poise. Like, when I get a book published, I want to look like that. Linda is doing it for us. Okay, so that's really what the book looks like, the covers. Again, just okay, nothing spectacular. But anyway, now that we've talked about the cover, let's talk about the content. As said before, Linda sometimes mixes historical fiction and Christian fiction together, and this is one of those books. The book follows a World War I Army nurse, Allison, as she serves the British Empire by being, of course, a nurse in Egypt, of all places. Allison is a devout Christian, and she tries to look at things from a godly perspective, but isn't overbearing with it. The character of Allison is a regular woman with deep faith, trying to navigate her way through the war. With her is her Jewish nurse friend, Mara, and a spy for the British Empire, another Jewish man called David. Allison does her best in the book to reach them with the gospel. There are two other men in the book sort of focuses on, and both are love interests for Allison. Wade Finley is a missionary in training turned medical aid, and Brett Holden is a colonel who works for British intelligence. Oddly enough, this is the second book in a row I've reviewed that is a mix of historical fiction, spying, and romance. Imagine that. Anyway, the book only spends a small time with Allison doing nurse things and falling in love, and shifts around the middle of the book, being more of a spy mystery, and Allison also falling in love, which I really enjoyed. I discovered while researching about Linda that this book isn't actually a standalone book, but I thought it was when I got it. This is book 2 in a series called her Egypt series. Nothing, as I showed you, like nothing on the cover tells you that. And you really, like if you just pick this up out of the blue, you kind of wouldn't know that this is a book that has like subsequent like books 1 and 3 until you like really got into it, and there's some things that you're thinking, wow, I really wish this had been more expanded upon in the book. I was confused because, again, like the book mentions events that honestly should have been mentioned in the book before now. But it was my fault. honestly. I really probably should have done my research before I read it to see if this was a book in a series. As people who get their books from thrift stores know, a lot of books you might not actually find the first book that starts the series. So it's not like I'm disappointed. I think it's a good thing that the book reads so well, it could really be a standalone book. If not for a few mentions of some very important occurrences that happen here and there, I would have been none the wiser. But I'm getting off track now. Not finding books as a complete series is a whole nother tangent in and of itself. So let's just get back on track. When the first portion of the book focuses on Allison's time in a field hospital, the latter half of the book focuses on Egyptian artifacts, betrayal, and spying. A long-lost cousin of Allison's is the new Cairo Inspector General, and he's, to put it gently, just plain unlikable. A house Allison is staying in gets broken into several times. A cook gets murdered. There are cobra-shaped doorknobs. German spies working for the British, Egyptian spies working for the Germans. People getting followed, lots of anxiety, and of course the love triangle set up in the book. So let's talk about the love triangle a little more. Wade Finley is the person everyone expects Allison to fall in love with, but of course, she ends up falling in love with Colonel Holden, which I suppose was explained in the first novel. Wade kind of fades out of the picture in the first half of this book, though he is alive, and we get tons of Allison and Brett come the latter portion of the book. In the book, their inner monologues are very sincere and loving and protective towards each other, but their tempers get easily riled when Allison and Brett are having like these little tit-for-tat conversations. It's really frustrating sometimes, but it manages to create this tension that really does beg the question, will Allison pick the humble, nerdy Wade or the brash and bold and dashing Brett? But Jack Attack, you might say. This is a Christian book. Of course Allison is going to pick the shy Wade Finley, who put his dreams on becoming a missionary on hold to instead become a medical assistant in the Great War. Books like this never let the heroine get the unchristian man. And to that I say, you are indeed correct. But, joke's on you. Brett is also a deeply believing Christian. So really, it's anyone's game. In the book also, Brett is seen to have deep feelings for Allison, but he's a little cocky and smart-mouthed too. He's like diet bad boy for Christians. Brett is dashing, debonair, the perfect British officer, and a gentleman who is always watching out for Allison. They even have this very Casablanca moment when they're dancing outside a club while music plays, and it's just so lovely, and I love them together. I'm definitely on Team Allison and Brett. Beyond the romance, though, is Allison tangled up in this smuggling and spying going on all around her. Because Brett and David are both spies, and because of suspicious circumstances in the first book that I couldn't possibly tell you correctly because, again, I did not read it, Allison is staying with her friend Sarah, whose husband was revealed to be a spy working for the Germans, and also deep into smuggling Egyptian artifacts out of Egypt. In the first book, I believe he shot himself and died, and his wife never knew of his evil behavior. However, now she's being watched, and her home broken into as smugglers or spies, or both really, try to figure out what her now dead husband was up to. While she's resting after a bad case of malaria, Allison ends up trying to find out just who is behind killing the cook and breaking into her friend's home. And where exactly is the treasure that Sarah's husband left behind? Because he did indeed leave something behind. What is it? I have no intention of telling you. It's a great book, and I'm almost tempted to order books 1 and 2 of the series to read it properly. Almost. I won't. And here's why. As I said in my first video, I'm not the biggest fan of historical fiction, and while I enjoyed the book, I had a few issues with it as well. It seemed that Wade Finley was just sort of forgotten about in the latter half of the book. Spoiler alert, but if you weren't on Team Allison and Brett, you should have been, because she agrees to be with Brett by the end. However, in the first part of the book, it makes it out to be a love triangle, and Wade really has deep feelings for Allison, but once the first act of the book is done, we really never see him again. Is he in the third book? Again, I could not tell you. Other than that, and a few other things, which admittedly might make more sense if I read the other 2 books, I still enjoyed reading Lions of the Desert. This book cost me only $1 and is definitely going up on my shelf. That's all I've got for today. I'm Jack Attack, and as always, I'll see you when I see you.